Hello and welcome to Simon Miller's Pro Wrestling Podcast. My name is Simon Miller and this is a pro wrestling podcast. As always, if you are watching on YouTube, I probably just scared the absolute crap out of you because that's just what my voice does. But thank you very much for joining me. And if you're listening later after we do it live on youtube.com/The Miller Report Rules, I also appreciate it. I just appreciate everybody listening to my podcast, getting involved, sending me messages, doing whatever it is we do. Look, I'm just going to say this, as we do get towards the end of 2018, right now, the community and the audience is bigger than ever has been. And that's all I ever wanted to do this year. Well, I want to do lots of things, but one of the things I wanted to do was make sure to focus on this more and try and grow it. And we have, and that makes me really, really happy. My hood is up if you're watching live. I don't really know why, if I'm completely honest. It was just up before I started doing it, so I was like, meh, I'm going to keep it up. I mean, maybe it's to protect myself from the crazy week we've had in the land of professional wrestling, especially WWE. Like, everyone else is kind of calming down now for 2019. Like, we saw the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes and Hangman Page say goodbye to Ring of Honor, Final Battle. That was pretty good. New Japan, obviously building up for their Wrestle Kingdom shows. But they all kind of feel like they're in a state of flux. I guess WWE does too. But, man, again, I've said it a lot this week. I'll keep saying it again because I guess I'm still trying to process it on my own end. Who on earth would have predicted back in January 2018 that on the penultimate Raw, before we're all said and done for this year, Vince McMahon would not only return to television, but he would return to television to tell us that yes, the product is bad, he knows it's bad, and he's going to try and sort it out. Like, It's just crazy. It's one of those things that somebody would have written on Reddit or in a message to it's something ridiculous that you'd say, but nobody would actually believe it, especially because, from an internet social media point of view, the consensus or the stereotype or the whatever is, Vince McMahon doesn't listen to the fans. And maybe that is true, maybe it's not true. I'm not going to get into that today. But all I am saying is now we have opened a door where if WWE do not start listening to the fans, or at least do not make sweeping changes, like, I don't mind if they make sweeping changes and they don't work. I think it's a bit like tying it into another story in the news. If you are a big football soccer fan, Jose Mourinho just got fired. And the big consensus from Manchester United supporters is we don't care if we're not winning everything. We understand that football is cyclical, but we just don't want to watch boring football anymore, which is what Mourinho was accused of. It's the same with WWE. I think we'd all be happy to see them having a bit of fun, trying something new, but it's the fact that, for a lot of people, Raw's become formulaic and boring and doesn't surprise you. But now they want to change that, and they have to change that. You can't... We did a Y video on this. I think it goes up today, so keep an eye out for that. And on that Y video as well, I just like to say, I heard everyone was saying I had one take on it, but everybody else had another take, so I deliberately went on the other take to prove that I always listen. I listen to my audience, like WWE are now going to do apparently. But yeah, I understand why people are skeptical. I understand why people don't necessarily believe that this is going to happen, but I think it has to now. Like, I really, really do, because you're just going to kill off the last sort of, bastion of your fan base if you have come out, held your hands up, admitted there's a problem, but then just fall right back into the status quo like that. I don't see how that's going to fly now. I just don't see it. I just don't see it. And I could be wrong, admittedly, as I've said 1,000 times. I come at wrestling far more positively than some other people do, and that's fine. We're all different human beings. We all have different opinions. That's just how I get the most out of my WWE entertainment. That's a stupid thing to say. So yeah, I am obviously going to look at this as a more of a half glass full kind of a situation as opposed to other people. But I do want to believe it. I know that straight after that, Raw went into one of the most, usual Raws that we're used to. But these things take time, especially when we're in late December. It's Christmas time. Everybody stocks over Christmas time. Even people working, if you're an accountant, well, not even an accountant, that's the worst one ever, but you know what I mean. When Christmas and the festive season arrives, a lot of people just slow down and they kind of switch off because their brains float away and they look forward to eating turkey on the 25th of December. I think we've got to give it to January. I think it's doubly exciting because it also ties into the Royal Rumble. So let's just see what the start of 2019 brings. But I'm going to keep everything crossed. Shout out to my man Ryan Evermeet in the super chat. As everyone knows, if you get in the super chat, you get a smash on my pec. It's meant to be my heart, but it's just me hitting my pec. Who says, "Happy holidays, Simon's opinions on the NXT call-ups." Well, Ryan, I do have that on my list. But as you've been so good to throw some money in the super chat, we'll get to it right now. It's kind of a weird one. I was actually quite excited when I first... And it all ties in. We're just going to have a big chat about everything that the McMahons and Triple H brought to both shows this week. I actually liked what they were doing with the NXT call-ups. Obviously, Lars Sullivan is exciting. Very typical WWE guys. Hopefully, they'll push him in the right way. EC3, great look. If you've been following his career for a while, I think it's exciting to see what he can do on a WWE roster. Didn't really light it up in NXT, but neither did Elias. So I don't necessarily think that's a caveat you have to have. Lacey Evans... Don't know a lot about her other than seeing a few matches down NXT, but look, the women division is amazing right now, so adding depth to that isn't a problem, especially if we are going to add tag team titles. Nikki Cross is great, always like Nikki Cross. I like her new crazy character. And Heavy Machinery, for me, were the real ones that got me pumped, because the tag team division, when you look at it from afar, is really what needs fixing on WWE at the moment. And I don't think we can get to this so-called promised land unless we make sure the tag teams feel as important as the singles wrestlers. And that's something that WWE has always been bad at, to the point, hopefully I'm going to do a video about this on What Culture in the next coming days. But yeah, I really, the tag team, we made a good start on Raw and SmackDown, we did. But we can't keep treating the tag team division like it's secondary, because it's not. It just makes booking your singles matches even harder. Because the whole point of having a tag team division is you can offer something different to the rest of the card, and that gets people excited and also allows people to enjoy other matches on whatever show we're talking about, because that straight away is something different. In one match you've got 1-on-1, another match you have 2-on-2. Like it's simple mathematics. So oddly, Heavy Machinery were the really people that I was excited about. Now I'm second guessing myself. They're called Heavy Machinery, right? Now I'm second guessing myself. Yeah, they are. Oh, if they're not, you know who I'm talking about. I go crazy. A lot's gone on today. So yes, I'm looking forward to it. And again, seeing. Even though the problem may be Vince McMahon, and I'm not going to say it with any certainty, because that's just not how I operate. But I mean, you can roll your eyes at me and you can say what you want, but look, I did enjoy seeing Vince McMahon on Raw and SmackDown. Now, that doesn't mean I want to see him all the time. I was surprised when he was on SmackDown, especially because he had his own office, or a McMahon office, a McMahon locker room. So I don't know if this does now transition into him being a regular character. I don't mind that. I do like seeing him on TV. I enjoy the reactions he gets, mostly because it just bucks the trend from everything else. But that doesn't mean we need to be careful. We don't want to fall back into problems that we had before, when some people's problems were that McMahons were on TV too much. So there's a balancing act here. There's absolutely a balancing act here. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But more often, as soon as he came out, and I wanted to see what he was going to say, when I did sit down to watch it before I did ups and downs, words came out of my mouth was, right, come on, Vince, what have you got? Like, I was excited. When I woke up to watch the show, I was excited. And I think that's half the fun with wrestling. As long as I'm intrigued before I go in and I'm entertained during it, I don't really care what they do. That's all that matters. If I walk away and go, I had a good time, then excellent. Something was right. So I did like it. I was surprised that, Shane, Stephanie, and Triple H came out. I didn't necessarily see that coming. I don't really know what it means for sort of SmackDown Live versus Raw. But again, as long as both shows are good, who really cares? The whole, I mean, you can kind of argue what they said both ways, because yes, some people have said this is too much like WCW. We're now breaking the fourth wall too much, and we're saying we know the product sucks, and so on and so forth. Obviously, all the blame was put on Baron Corbin. So at least there was a storyline reason for it. Although I'll talk about Baron Corbin in a minute, and you can all call me a moron. But that was a bit, especially when Triple H looks right in the camera and says that you're now the authority, and we're going to start listening to you. It's like, well, isn't that what you should have been doing anyway? Like, do we really need a sort of flag in the sand moment? But hey, look, again, that's really pulling at straws. I'm much more of a guy that wants to hope they mean well, and that over the next few weeks and months things are going to get better. Because otherwise, why are we watching anyway? If you think it's already dead and in the ground, I would just stop. We're talking to Baron Corbin. We're not going to get into the specifics of what happened on Raw and SmackDown, just a few highlights. But honestly, I get why we had everyone beat him up, and I do think it was the right thing to do, because the crowd loved it, and it was fun to see the babyfaces get their revenge, even if they ganged up on him. But it was today, actually, earlier, I started thinking about everything that happened on Raw and everything that happened on SmackDown. I actually feel quite sorry for Baron Corbin. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I don't know, just the fact that he got beaten up and Triple H was yelling at him and Vince McMahon was yelling at him, and then he got beaten up by Seth Rollins. I was like, poor Baron Corbin. He's had a bad week. It's a shame now would have been the time to shave his head right. That really would have, added to his whole character. But hey, we can't go back in time. We can't do that. So yeah, I liked all of it. And again, all my notes that I'm looking down at here, everyone just says, let's give them time and wait and see. And that goes to the tag team championships as well. Obviously, the Revival won a number one contender match. And if you were looking at it, within the bubble that it was presented, it did seem like the crowd didn't care. But that's because they've been conditioned to feel that way. So I hope we take our time now. I hope we don't do anything, too extreme. Spoilers, because obviously they've taped next week's Raw and SmackDown. So it is the Revival versus Rude and Gable for the championships. I hear the matches, I won't say who wins, but I hear the match is really, really good. So that's the first step. But now it is a case of slowly sort of climbing back up the ladder and giving people time. Because like the last time I saw the Revival, they kept losing to the Lucha House Party or they weren't on television. So if now I'm meant to take them seriously again, there has to be a rehab period. And you can argue that with SmackDown as well. Like Sanity just turned up on SmackDown and they beat up the Usos and the Good Brothers. And it makes no sense if you actually want to think about it. But who cares? Right now we do need to 180 a lot of these storylines and just get people back into the public eye. And we've done that. And now begins the rehab process. But that's what I mean about it takes time. You can't just do that. You have to condition fans so they know who's important and who's not important. If the Revival are important again, that's a work in progress. So we will see. We will see what happens, but I liked it. And I'm glad that Lucha House Party rules are dead as well, because that was clearly an idea that somebody came up with on the fly and it didn't work and made no sense when it comes to baby faces and heels. And I get it, they're not as important today as they were, but that doesn't mean we can just crap on them all together. I think we need to be a bit more well balanced. I thought Ronda Rousey promo was good. The reason I bring that up is because I got a bit of flack on social media. Always happy to address that, because I didn't necessarily like the Gauntlet match. Now, it wasn't that I didn't like the Gauntlet match. I liked the idea of it. I thought it made the Raw's women title feel special. But it was just the way some of it was delivered. Didn't enjoy going backstage and see a bunch of women yelling at producers. Do you ever see that with the guys? No, because no guys would do that. Like Steve Austin, for example. I always did that because he was the most over guy ever. You would never see him yelling for a title shot backstage because it would undermine his character. And I don't think we should have done that. I think it should have been more... Well, they should have come across more like sports people, right? And I felt like they were presented like brats. And you can tell me I'm wrong, but I did. And I enjoyed the format. And I thought the final between Natalya and Sasha Banks was great. But I just don't think it should have been... I don't think that should have been the last hour of Raw, given everything else that just happened. I feel like I put them in an unfortunate position. So that was just my take. I would have just much rather we had picked two, maybe Sasha Banks and Natalya. There we go. I just said it, and just put them in a number one contenders match, and then built stories. That's just what I felt. That's just what I felt. I just didn't feel like... I think it would have been good for a different episode of Raw, but not just this episode of Raw. But I did like everything with Ronda Rousey. Her promos are getting a bit weird. She does say some strange things, like, but hey, I believe it, and that's all that matters. That's just how she speaks. That's just her cadence. That's how she talks. So that's fine. And then afterwards, obviously, you had the Natty's my best friend, but also, I'm going to stare at her like I'm going to kill her next week. And again, apparently they have a very good match next week as well. So I'm not going to, crap on anything we've seen just because it was on, Raw. I'm going to wait and see, what it's like in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, whatever. We will see, and I think that's the most important thing. Sorry for my eyes for that people are watching me on YouTube right now. I'm having a few technical difficulties, so just trying to sort them out quickly. This is always fun, isn't it? I would go away, but I'm not going to do that because there we go, it's fixed. So I think we're talking about stuff that I actually do think is in a bit of a... That doesn't affect the women, that Gauntlet match at all. Like, it was fine, and a lot of people liked it too. The Dean Ambrose-Seth Rollins feud, however, probably needs something... It probably needs a shift. We probably need to head in a different direction. Now, I didn't think their match at TLC was as bad as many people think. I certainly didn't think it deserved a boring chant. But I do accept the argument that, well, this is meant to be a grudge match, and here we have two people kind of just having a wrestling match. Like, that was the problem with Randy Orton versus Triple H at WrestleMania 25 or whatever it was. I can't remember. Is that, we'd seen home invasions. Like, Randy Orton had broken into Triple H's house, and then they're putting headlocks on each other. It just doesn't tie into the story. So that I do agree with. Obviously, Dean Ambrose, heel character of being a guy that doesn't want diseases. it's a shame because I like the presentation. I like the dudes he comes out with in gas marks and the siren. I think that kind of differentiates, heel Dean Ambrose from face Dean Ambrose. But yeah, when he's talking about he doesn't want to get ill, it's a bit like, well, this doesn't really have much weight to it. I do like the fact he's IC champion. I like the fact that Tyler Breeze came out. I liked their match. All of that was good. And even Seth Rollins hiding as one of his gas mask men, whatever. That's a hard thing to say quickly. That will work. We've seen that 1,000 times before, but it got a good reaction. And then obviously Seth Rollins got in Baron Corbin's face, and they're in the main event of Raw next week. But it just, again, for a feud I was really excited about. Like, as soon as Dean Ambrose came back in October, whenever the hell it was, I thought turn him heel and put him in a feud with Seth Rollins so we can see that feud the other way around. Because when they first went at it a few years ago, when Seth was a heel, excuse me, it was brilliant. This one doesn't really seem to be, living up to that billing. So we will wait and see. We will wait and see, like everything. That's the hashtag of this episode. But I can see why it's lost a bit of its momentum. But there's still time. I mean, Dean is the IC champion. That's always good. Hopefully one of the shifts we're making in this new era, this new dawn, is to, get the bigger focus on the title, such as the Intercontinental Championship. I think that would help no end. I just think maybe Dean's character needs a little bit of a tweak. I just don't like the injection, whatever. I think it's strange. SmackDown, on the other hand, I thought was brilliant. Like I know SmackDown more or less is good. It's not like we've had anything bad really on that show. But I thought this one was I couldn't really come up with that many bits I didn't like. There were a few downs. I think ups and downs have just gone up. There was a few downs in it, like the opening bit with the locker room where they booed Raw. I was like, oh gosh, it's terrible. It just feels so forced, that stuff, and that makes me feel awkward. But other than that, I mean, Paige is no longer GM. That's just a matter of circumstance. It sucks, but as long as they find a different role for her, I don't think that's something we need to worry about too much. Daniel Bryan is just brilliant. Daniel Bryan's new character. More fool me, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. I didn't think he'd be able to get this, eco-warrior, killing the planet thing as much heat as he has. I knew he'd be good at it, but I thought there'd be too many cracks in the armor, but there's not. He comes across like such a, just an asshole. That he's brilliant. He's kind of the best promos I've ever seen him do, even probably from the WrestleMania 30 era, and I liked all of them as well. And the fact that the main event was Mustafa Ali, who now apparently is part of SmackDown Live, and AJ Styles taking on the returning Andrade Cien Almas. Again, bizarre. He's just back, but I'll accept it because I want him back. With Daniel Bryan, and that Mustafa Ali got the pin over the WWE champion. It just makes it feel like a sport. Like, it was a really well fought match. We saw some crazy moves. I thought AJ Styles was brilliant in it. Like, I don't know whether he's just. I don't know, just great. Just so good. And when Mustafa Ali did hit the 054, whatever it's called, for the win, I reacted to it. He pinned the champion. And maybe you can go off into a mini feud with that. I don't know. I mean, of course he's not going to become WWE champion. It's just not going to happen, or at least I don't believe it is. But it works. And again, there was some critic out there going, oh, well, this makes Daniel Bryan like a weak champion. I don't think so. He's a heel. He's a dick heel that goes around barking his mouth, and he got what was coming to him in a tag team match. So there's ways and means you can argue it. But I thought it was a great main event. I really, really enjoyed it. Everything with Charlotte, Ronda, and Asuka at the start of the show is probably the best thing on all of WWE television. Like, it's so good. And Vince McMahon getting involved in that, which I didn't see coming. Obviously, he came out to make the Asuka versus Naomi match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. That was good. I just believe it. It's just characters that I'm invested in. And that's what it doesn't even matter what's happening. If I'm invested in the characters and I like the storyline, that's it. That's wrestling. That is wrestling. So I loved it. And I loved the storyline between Becky, Ronda, Charlotte, and now Asuka. It just makes so much sense. To the point, again, on Raw, Ronda says she wasn't going to explain herself. And I was actually, you don't have to in this scenario, because the story's simple. And you can get into it, although I would prefer it if wrestlers did explain themselves. Like, Dean Ambrose didn't explain himself. Ronda Rousey's not going to explain himself. Big Show wasn't going to explain himself. Can you explain some stuff? It's called storytelling. You're allowed to tell me why you did something, and I then can decide whether it is a good enough motivation to do so. But whatever. But Asuka especially is great. Like, I said this on Ups and Downs. When she started wiggling, when everyone started chanting her name, I really laughed. And in a good way. Like, what a weird person you are. But in a good, I liked it. Like, it made me warm to her. I think she's awesome. I'm so happy that, after a year, the highs of the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania 34, which was great, to the lums of whatever else followed afterwards. The fact she's going to finish this year in the position that she is, not only is it deserved and earned, but it's absolutely where she should be. And even if we don't get Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania 35, and they did spin off in the direction of Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte and Asuka versus Becky Lynch, I don't think I'd mind. Ideally, I'd like a 3-way, maybe even a 4-way. I'd be all right with it because I think it would be so good. But again, Oscar has kind of, flown back up the charts so quickly. I'd be all right with it. I would be all right with it. So yeah, those four are just. They're just brilliant. And there's the thing, I said this before, but I'll say it again. The whole women's evolution now is, it's no longer lip service. Like, I think before WWE would say it a lot as a marketing tool and to let people know they knew the error of their ways before. But now I believe it. They are the best thing on the TV. Like, as soon as Becky Lynch came, I was like, what's she going to say? And what's Charlotte going to say? And and the fact that Vince McMahon, I think it is proof in the pudding that Vince McMahon's segment, I know he had something else with The Miz as well, which was fine. It's hard into the Shane McMahon stuff. But the fact that Vince put himself in that, I don't think it wasn't coincidence, right? That was done on purpose. I loved it. We talked about Gallows and Anderson. Look, get him on TV. Same with Sanity. Make them important again. And then, Rusev. I don't know what it was. I mean, it's probably because I know what happens next week. We do have Rusev versus Shinsuke Nakamura for the US Championship. And maybe knowing that the 2 weeks of programming, I don't know whether Rusev is finally going to get his due with all this new era, new dawn stuff. I do think they're over-scripting him. His promo on this week's and 2 weeks ago just don't sound like him. And I've heard him on Instagram and Total Divas. Just let the dude talk. He's hilarious. I think that's one of the reasons that I enjoy him so much, is because he's just nuts. But that's what I like in my wrestling. I like unique personalities that that sort of come through the screen. So we will see that come through the screen. I know what I just said. You know what I mean. Oh well. Moving on. 18 rated Simon Mura's Pro Wrestling Podcast. But 2019 is going to be interesting. That's all. We'll just end it there. We'll end up the wrap up there. We'll draw a line under it, and we'll say I think 2019 is going to be interesting, and I'm really looking forward to see. I'm just looking forward to see what they can do, and I hope I'm proven right. If I'm not, then absolutely, there are going to be questions, rightful questions to be had, because if the people writing the show have come out and made an admission of guilt and then still don't do anything about it, then where do we go? What do we do then? Honestly, what's the plan following that? Because if you've admitted you've made a mistake but aren't happy to make the changes, then we are actually going to do this forever. And I do think you'll drive off the last fans. I won't. I'll watch forever. I'm that guy. I like getting up, but I get to ups and downs. That's half the fun for me. I enjoy that relationship. So yes, that's Raw and SmackDown. Maybe not Raw, but I think if you haven't been tuning into SmackDown for a while, you should. I think there's enough there that at least you'll get back on the SmackDown bandwagon. And Raw, next week's Raw sounds basic, but again, I'm okay with it because it is just... It's Christmas, right? It's Christmas. And for those that ask as well, I said it on the ups and downs this week, but in case you come in here, I'm doing Raw ups and downs. I'm doing SmackDown ups and downs. I got no problem with that whatsoever. I feel I'm very lucky to do what I do. So if you do want to tune in on Christmas Day, I'll be there. And if you do want to tune in Boxing Day, I'll be there as well. I watch wrestling, so you don't have to, and that applies 365 days a year. It's my pleasure. Thank you for watching. Thank you for putting me in a position where I could do it. That's the main thing. Right, a bit of news before we start answering questions. And again, if you are on YouTube, please, do ask questions. Just the way it works. I'm just trying to be as transparent, as honest here as I can. People that ask questions in the super chat, I will answer 100% because that's just life, right? That's just life. I'm not going to ignore those questions. That would make me a bigger asshole, but I'll answer as many as I can. The interesting thing for me was the Raw rating came up, and it was better. Like, it did drop a lot through hours 2 and 3. Hours 3 especially was quite down given how many people tuned in. But, on paper, people knowing that Vince McMahon was going to be on television, and probably the fallout from the TLC pay-per-view too, which we'll talk about in one sec, brought in 400,000 extra people. That's good. It just is. You want to round it up. You can say almost just shy of 500,000. So people like him. People like to see Vince McMahon. I guess it's the power of being a star. Vince McMahon is a star. It's like if John Cena, obviously, this is my next point actually. John Cena is back on the road from Christmas, Boxing Day, I think. Not for very long. I do think he's doing a couple of Raws, but I think he goes away again early next year to do a movie. So I don't think he's back for a while. But look, that is the power of star power. But when John Cena comes back, you see a rise as well. People want... That's the thing that WWE needs to work on in 2019. Can we make a new proper major superstar? There was an interesting interview with Bubba Ray Dudley, I think on Jim Ross's show or some radio show that he does, where he says that he doesn't think Vince McMahon will ever let anybody get to a John Cena, The Rock, or Steve Austin level again because they go off and do their own thing, and he wants to try and maintain it. I mean, there's an argument there. Even someone like Batista was able to sort of climb over that bar. But even if that has been the case, I don't think we can do that anymore. We need stars. Like, we take Vince McMahon as a star, he added 400,000 people. If you can make another Rock, you'll double that, you'll triple that. That's what we need. We want people to go, I'm not tuning in for Raw, I'm tuning in for The Rock or whoever. I think that's a huge thing we need to shift. And it will help with the house show market as well. Because you're not going out just to watch some wrestling. You're going to see your favourites. That person that you wait for the whole show going, oh, please, please, please. So yeah, I think that it's probably the number one thing they should do, but we will see. And we mentioned the NXT call-ups, actually. I've got that down here. So just quickly before we do answer some questions, TLC I thought was awesome. I thought it was one of the best WWE pay-per-views of this year. A lot of people think I'm exaggerating with that. That's cool. That's just my opinion. But I did. I loved it. I thought the triple threat, the TLC triple threat between Asuka, Charlotte, and Becky was just brilliant. And having Ronda Rousey do that at the end made sense. You can choose to cheer her or boo her, but again, her motivations are completely reasonable. These two women have been either, abusing her on social media or everything that happened at Survivor Series with the kendo stick and Charlotte. So of course she's going to come out there and screw up their match. It makes no sense in wrestling terms why she would wait so long, but I get it. That's called, building to a climax. So that was awesome. The Daniel Bryan AJ Styles match, I've told all my casual friends that won't watch wrestling anymore because they love New Japan so much. Or not casual fans, but they watch. I say, go watch that match. That could have been in the Tokyo Dome, and everyone would have loved it. And the real reason that was so cool is because, again, it kind of shook up the whole, does WWE fall into too much of a pattern with its wrestling? Well, even if it does, it didn't there. Seth Rollins, Dean Ambrose, again, not as bad as everyone said, but yeah, not great. And other than that, all the other matches were... They were fine. I liked the Baron Corbin, Braun Strowman skit. It wasn't really a match. It was a skit because Braun Strowman, ensured that Baron Corbin got his. And even if it was a bunch of baby faces teaming up on him again, we've seen Baron Corbin run roughshod for a while. So I can let that fly. And also because baby faces on WWE TV usually come across like idiots, even if they have to team up together and be more like heels, I'll let it slide. Drew McIntyre versus Finn Balor I really liked. I thought it was just a really rough and ready encounter. Surprised that Finn Balor won massively. I don't know how that helps Drew McIntyre's push, but if we're hitting the reset button, then maybe we don't have to worry too much. And then look, the pre-show was decent as well, right? Not the Bobby Lashley Elias thing, that was kind of just there. But Cedric Alexander versus Buddy Murphy was good. I'm forgetting some other matches now. There's a reason I'm forgetting about them. They're all fine. They're all good. But I thought, even if it was just Drew and Finn, AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan, and that main event for the Women's Champion, especially because Asuka won, that's just a feel-good moment. We've all wanted to see that. And I actually think we could have argued, if Becky Lynch had won, we would have liked that. If Charlotte would have won, I don't think too many people would have been upset. After watching that match, I think Charlotte's one of the best women they've ever had in WWE. I think she's brilliant. Her facial reactions are good. Her selling is awesome. She's more of a heel character, but I still think she can kind of tread that line. And all her stuff looks great. And she does crazy moonsaults off the top rope. So there you go. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. I will answer this quickly just because I get this asked a lot. James Baker in the comments. Simon, big fan of yours. That's very kind. And I know this is a WWE discussion, but may I ask when and if you are planning an in-ring return for yourself in Defiant? Well, it's certainly not a question of if. It's certainly a question of when. I'm still trying to sort out my shoulder, which obviously I injured in July. It's been a very arduous process, as that alone will tell you. The two things I will say is this. One, I will make my comeback to professional wrestling and Defiant if they will have me in 2019. No ifs, buts, or maybes. That's going to happen. As for when, Defiant has a weekly show. It's called Loaded. It's on the Defiant YouTube wrestling page now. You can go, subscribe, watch. Keep an eye out. That's all I'm going to say. That's not me confirming anything. That's not me not confirming anything. I will say right now, that nothing has happened. But that's all I will say. But we still have a little bit way to go with the injury. It's been very, very difficult because I didn't want surgery. It was a gamble. It was a risk. Looking like that risk may now actually pay off, but there's a long way. There's a long way to go. Just before we do a segue into the Q&A segment, just some plugs. I am on Twitter and Instagram at SimonMiller316. Come follow me. Come have a chat. You can join the Facebook group where I get the majority of my Q&A questions from. It's just Simon Miller's Pro Wrestling Facebook group. You just search for that. What else? All of this is supported by patreon.com/Simon316. If you are on YouTube right now, there is a link below. Click it. If you can give me $1, it's awesome. It just helps me, free up my time to do this because unfortunately, time is money when you're a freelancer. That's just the truth of it. And I think that's everything. Oh, if you're on YouTube right now, give me a subscribe. Just smash that subscribe button. It's just cool to have more YouTube subscribers. It just is. And you can go watch some of my other content as well. I do weird vlogs and other weird videos about games and wrestling. Who knows what else. Aidan Kelly, do you still do the weekly updates at What Culture? I do loads of videos at What Culture. Ups and Downs went up like 20 minutes ago. That's an interesting question, Aiden, but I appreciate it all the same. Right, my YouTube is broken for me today as well, so I apologise if I've missed anything or anything like that. For some reason, it's not giving me all the up-to-date information that I need. But hey, that's YouTube for you, right? Always a joy. Right, I'm just getting some comments up now. Clicking this. Right, let's answer some questions. Alex White, of the 6 NXT call-ups shown on Raw, which do you believe are not ready? Well, I'm going to sit on the fence on this one because everyone's ready. I think most people, I'd say 90% of the people we see on NXT TV are ready. It all depends how they're booked and what happens to them when they get on the main roster. So I would never sit here and crap on everyone and go, they're not ready, because I don't believe that's my decision to make. And again, I sound like a shill. That's fine. You can think what you want. But that is WWE's decision. They know more than me. Like, some people said to me when I made WWE, he's not ready. Well, no, I probably wasn't. But you can't, there's only so ready you can be, and then you kind of got to get in the ring and start again. And I'm sure that's the same when you're shifting from NXT to Raw or SmackDown. You're probably ready in the NXT sense, but then you've got to... you've got to change stuff up. So yeah, I don't know. I just wouldn't. I just wouldn't make that. I wouldn't make that assumption on anyone. I don't think that would be fair. But I do. Heavy Machinery are the people that I got the most hopes for, because I just think if they come in and they really smash the tag team division, it would just be perfect. Like, because that's exactly what we need right now. Is we need more tag teams. We just do. The division has got to start to feel like it's important again. You know, the main problem we had was at Survivor Series when, you know, that match didn't even count, as the New Day rightly pointed out. So we will see. I'll keep everything crossed that happens. But no, I think they're all ready. Why the hell not? I wouldn't. I would never say otherwise. I don't think it's my place. James Bromsfield, hope you're well, sir, and cheers for the brilliant content. You're all so nice. I appreciate it. Wishing you all the best over this festive season. I hope 2019 brings you all the success and happiness. Same to you, James. I hope you kick some ass, live your dreams, follow everything you want to do. Apart from Repo Man, what do you think has been the best real job-based gimmick of all time? Oh, man, I don't know. That's a question and a half. There's so many in the mid-90s, right? I mean, Repo Man, the reason, people ask me this all the time, the reason I drop Repo Man so much on my What Culture videos is because I find the gimmick hilarious. He's a guy that's meant to have gone around repossessing things and yet somehow has become a wrestler. I'll pimp for IRS. Erwin R. Shyster, who apparently also used to go home and do taxes for everybody, and that's why we booed him. The stupidest gimmick in the world, but I loved it. All he used to do is get on the microphone and go, I'm going to make you pay your taxes. Boo. All right, that was legal. It's like a guy coming out and saying, I'm a judge. If you commit murder, I'm going to put you in jail. Boo. So IRS, but nothing will ever beat Repo Man. The worst thing is that it's Barry Darso, isn't it, was involved in that concussion lawsuit against WWE. So even though that's been thrown out of court, I imagine that they're still on the outs with each other, and that sucks. Because Repo Man, I can see Repo Man in some stupid gimmick battle royal being there. Can you imagine what I would do if I was actually watching a WWE show and Repo Man turned up? You'd probably never see me again. I'd probably have some kind of aneurysm and die. So I'll pick IRS, but he doesn't come close to Repo Man, who will always be my favourite. Nick Palmer. So Paige is no longer GM of SmackDown Live, but is still going to have an on-screen position. Any thoughts on what her new role could be? And why does everyone seem to hate Vince on the internet, but he gets cheered like the biggest babyface in the ring? Because when you see him, he's absolutely a star. He just is. He's a superstar. We remember him from the Attitude Era days. We remember he is Vince McMahon, like he is pro wrestling, or he is WWE in many ways. So that's why you react to him, because it's cool to see him. It's cool to see him out there. We've been conditioned over the years, and he's proven to us over the years that he's a star. He's been in huge angles, and when he's out, I think the other reason is when he's out there, you know that something has to happen. I think the last time we saw him was the Raw 25th anniversary show, and Stone Cold Steve Austin came out. That was cool. That was awesome. Like, it was a moment. So I think a lot of people get excited about that. As for Paige, I don't know what we do with her. I mean, I saw her tweet, and then I realised she was going to have to, because we're getting rid of the GMs, basically. So I realised something was going to have to happen. A manager, maybe? If they're going to push the women's division quite hard. Don't forget, Alexa Bliss wasn't on Raw either, so I guess she's gone too. But, yes, I would imagine some kind of manager or some kind of... a commentary position, potentially. I think she'd be quite good at that. Maybe look, Byron Saxton got replaced by David Otunga. Why not put Paige on there? And then she can be SmackDown's Renee Young, that's right. Yeah, why not? Something like that, but I don't know. I was surprised. Clearly, this is all very reactionary because they don't have anything planned. But we'll see. A few people in the comments are saying there's something wrong with the view counter. There is. At the moment, it's telling me that 2 people are watching. But I'm getting more comments than that, so I don't know what's going on with that. But all the comments, everything's screwed up. It's just YouTube being YouTube. Who knows how many people are watching? But I appreciate you all being here, all the same. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know about Paige. There aren't that many positions. If there, I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. Maybe not till the new year, I would imagine. Well, no, definitely not to the new year. Christopher Brown is genuinely agreed that hot-shotting a title is bad booking, but lately, lengthy title reigns have also been tedious and boring. So what is the shortest time for a credible reign, and what is the ideal length? It's all storyline, right? It's all based on storyline. For me, anyway, because I enjoyed AJ Styles' sort of year-long run for him, but I do admit there were times when it felt like he should have dropped the title, especially to Shinsuke Nakamura or Samoa Joe, and he didn't. But at the same time, you don't want to just throw the championship around because it does devalue it. If you remember WCW before it died, it just was stupid. It didn't mean you couldn't buy into anyone being champion because you've been conditioned to believe that it was going to change. So I don't think there is a right or wrong. It all depends on the story. If the story makes sense, it works. Like when Kane won it for 24 hours and then lost it to back to Steve Austin. I think people liked that because, it made sense. It was what they wanted to see. And it didn't hurt Kane because he was Kane. He was like this Hulk, this behemoth. So everyone was like, okay, whatever. So it all depends. But I think it's better now that we've gone back to lengthy reigns as opposed to throwing it all over the place. I prefer that. I mean, look at the New Japan title. You treat a title with the respect that it deserves and more people buy into it and they'll believe in it. And I think believability in WWE is something that we need to get back. And also it makes it more consistent. I know a few people are saying, well, what about Brock Lesnar? The Universal Championship does not count as a belt within... It's nuts what's happened to that championship. Maybe it ties into the whole reason Vince McMahon has just come out on Raw and said, hey, we need to change this up. But... yes, I don't know the answer to that. It is the real question. We will have to see. Aaron Paul, as a musician, what do you think of the entrance music that WWE has produced for superstar entrances? Obviously, a lot of time and effort go into the production of certain themes, but I feel like recent releases have been lacking compared to the other ones of the Attitude Ruthless Aggression era. Do you have a current old favourite? Well, this comes down to the discussion between do you like CFOs, do you like Jim Johnston? And I think the biggest critique that people have for CFOs is that they come up with a cool riff, but then they loop it, and some people prefer the songs that Jim Johnston used to do. I think it all depends. I mean, all of my favourite themes are from Jim Johnston, at least the way that they they worked with somebody's character. Are they lesser now? I don't know. I'm trying to think whose music I like. I like Baron Corbin's music, but I don't think it suits his character. I like Kevin Owens, but it is just a riff, a loop that riffs. Same with Seth Rollins. Sami Zayn suits him perfectly, so that one is awesome. I don't like Braun Strowman's. It just sounds like generic wrestling music. I don't know. I mean, my favourite ones, I don't know. It depends on the kind of... I like Stone Cold's because obviously it reminds me of Stone Cold Steve Austin, so that's good. I think Chris Jericho's is good. I don't know. I'd have to sit down... I mean, The Undertaker obviously is the most iconic one ever. I'd have to sit down there and actually think about it. But I mean, entrances in general have been scaled back a bit because you don't even get Titantrons anymore. You just sort of get one image or one text. Because the sets now are they're the same. They don't really have a Titantron. Well, they do, but you know what I mean. So again, I think that when we move to Fox, when SmackDown goes there, that's the first thing we should do. Change the set. So when you tune into SmackDown, like I'm watching SmackDown. I think they do a decent enough job of it now, but it probably could be better too. So it'll be interesting. David Ayers, we know that WWE had promised change, but going back to Shane's return a few years ago, he said all the same things. Do you, Mr. Positive, think they're actually going to change? Well, I do think they're going to change, just because when we did it with Shane McMahon, that was part of the story. Vince McMahon coming out with his family and Triple H and looking directly into the camera going, look, we've screwed up, you're now in charge. That's not part of the story. That is them reacting to the lowest rating ever in Raw's history. Obviously, social media is a lot louder now than it was then, even though it was still loud back then. So... no, I do think this is different. Again, I could be wrong. I'm not saying I'm right. I could be being way too positive and you're allowed to crap on me down the line. But look, I'm still going to have a better time because I'm going to enjoy all of that. And also, I just don't see what they do if they don't. You will break people's trust and you will break the relationship between fan and content creator. It's like if I tell you that we're going to go live on this podcast every Wednesday and then you don't see it for a month and I say, oh no, I'll be there next week, and I don't believe you. And that's what this is about. Now they have come out and said we are going to change. If they don't change, they will get rid of everybody else. Like they just will. People that sort of are on the verge will just leave. Shout out to my man DJ Gravesy in the super chat as well. Always appreciate it. Love your stuff, man. Keep up the amazing work. It's very kind, DJ. Thanks for watching. If you didn't watch, I wouldn't be able to do it. So I massively appreciate it. But yeah, I do think it's time to change. Our own Heart's old theme. That was one of my favourites as well, talking about themes. Enough is enough as it's time for a change. We're saying it. They're now saying it. You got to build the trust back up. And if they don't do it now, they may lose it forever. So look, that's just my opinion. I could be absolutely wrong. Niall Kelly, Balor to SmackDown, turns heel, joins the Good Brothers. AJ soon follows. Unexpected era's first main event feud following Mania. Thoughts? Well, I can't see that happening. I think it's a cool idea, but no, I don't see them shuffling the deck that much. I do think that hopefully Adam Cole and that lot and other people in NXT do make the jump soon. But I don't think you're going to go to that kind of lengths to do it. I mean, AJ Styles, to me, now is a babyface until... I know you're talking about heels and faces here. Well, actually, no, you said turns heel and joins the Good Brothers. So that you're essentially turning the Good Brothers and AJ Styles heel. No, I think Finn Balor potentially could do with a face turn, a heel turn at some point. Maybe not at the moment because things seem to be happening. But I don't think you turn AJ... And I don't know what we do with Gallows Anderson at the moment. And I do want to see the Undisputed Era soon. And it would be cool if they had another faction to have a program with as soon as they arrived, but I don't necessarily think that's AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and the Good Brothers. I think AJ Styles and Finn, for me, are probably better off by themselves for now. But I don't know. I say that, but I would say no is my gut. Brian Thurman, you didn't like Rusev Bray, but what about a new Bray or Bartley? Who's Bartley? Shayna Baszler. I don't know what this means. Seriously, though, what do you think of his latest tweets? I'm digging the weird, sinister rehab vibe I'm getting. I wonder if Sammy's promo is alluding to some kind of alliance. That's Brian Thurman. I saw Bray Wyatt's tweets, and the reason that I worry about it is because it just sounds like all the old rhetoric that he was doing before, which was a lot of, he said a lot of stuff, but he didn't mean anything and didn't back any of it up. I don't know what we do with Bray Wyatt. I don't know what guise he comes back in. Is it a new character? Is he the same? The problem is, as soon as he walks back to the door, we're talking about rehabbing and getting people back up to where they need to be. He absolutely needs to come in and just win a bunch of matches, and I don't know if he will do that. I don't know what you do with Bray Wyatt. I don't know. I'm not saying I didn't like Bray Wyatt by the end. I'm just saying that his character had been killed. Because he never said it. Again, he said loads of stuff on the mic, but it didn't mean anything. He then got in the ring and never backed up his words. He just lost. It's conditioning, as we were just talking about. I got conditioned to see Bray Wyatt as a loser. So when he tried to big me up for matches, I was like, well, I know you're going to lose, because you always lose. So... in that sense, I don't know what they do with him, but I don't like the cryptic tweets anymore. I don't like the cryptic anything with him anymore because it feels like the same old stuff that I've seen for the last 3 and 4 years. However, if he comes back and absolutely owns it, then yeah, I'll be interested again. Goes back to everything we've been saying this episode. But right now, no, I'm not 100. I just don't know. What would you do with Bray Wyatt? What would anyone do with Bray Wyatt? It's one of the biggest sort of shifts that WWE I think ever has gone before. They had this character that could have become a big deal, and he didn't. He didn't, even though he was world champion. He had that match with Randy Orton at WrestleMania, and there was semen on the floor and overhead projectors with bugs. It was so weird. Adam Mason. Hi, Simon. Hope you're well, my friend. The Revival finally booked in a tag team title match. Who else would you like to see challenge for other titles that haven't had the opportunity? Also, SmackDown Live for next week has all been recorded. Have you seen the spoiler that was posted today? You'll love it. I have. We're not going to talk about it here because I don't want to ruin it for everybody else. I am excited. It's going to be great. And I'm going to wax lyrical about it on ups and downs to the point that people hate me. In terms of who else I'd like to see challenged for other titles that haven't had an opportunity, I don't really mind. Like, anybody. Like, it's... There's no rhyme or reason to... there's no one I feel like, oh, they definitely have to get a title shot. They just want talented people to be put in good positions. So again, the Revival versus Chad Gable and Bobby Roode match from next week's Raw apparently is great. That's all I kind of really need is to allow... A lot of people say it was like an NXT takeover match. And if that is the case, everyone's going to enjoy it. And I'm not saying the winner is irrelevant, because it's not. But if both people come out with some momentum and being allowed to show what they were able to do, then that's a far cry away from where we were a few weeks ago when, again, people would just get jobbed down. Personally, yes, I want to see Rusev in bigger positions. Who else do I like? I mean, Mojo Rawley, I thought, got some momentum and had that taken away from him. Finn Balor. I'm not Finn Balor's biggest fan, but I do think he has a connection with the audience that's never really been jumped on ever since he's went to Raw. So I would do that. Samoa Joe. I love the Samoa Joe Jeff Hardy feud. I mean, for whatever reason, it doesn't feel uncomfortable to me that they're playing on Jeff's issues because of the way that Jeff is dealing with it, I guess. The fact that he's there and kind of, flitting it away makes me go, okay. But again, he made a good point. Samoa Joe has never won a championship since he's arrived on Raw, and also SmackDown, and you don't need championships to be a great wrestler. Samoa Joe's a great wrestler regardless of what he's done, but I felt like he should have taken the belt from AJ. I think that would have cemented Samoa Joe as a character. That was the best thing about Dean Ambrose winning at TLC. It cemented his heel turn. Like, it really, really did. He's like, I'm not getting what I want more, therefore I will shift across to being a bad guy. Oh, look, I won a championship, therefore I 100% made the right move. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting, and hopefully we can stumble onto people that we didn't know were going to be stars to begin with, because you do never know. Like when we saw the Rockers flex Kavana, I don't think anybody, would have pitched him as here. Stunning Steve Austin always had something, but again, if you said he's going to sell more merch and more pay-per-views than anybody in history, probably would have poo-pooed it. You don't know. There's different ways to get over. Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30, when he was being the American Dragon, again, probably never going to happen. Same with CM Punk. I mean, we could do this all day. John Cena goes the other way, right? You could look at John Cena and go, oh, he's probably going to do well. And he didn't at first. He almost got fired, found his rap gimmick, became one of the most important assets WWE had in the 2000 period. It's a toss of a coin. I have my favourites, but I'm always happy to be won over by somebody else. Always happy to put my hands on and say, you got me wrong. Like, R-Truth. When R-Truth first came back, and I thought a lot of his comedy was missing, on SmackDown, I thought it was hilarious. On TLC, I thought it was hilarious. When he looked at Mandy Rose and called her Maurice, it's just brilliant. Brilliant delivery. And the look on his face, he was so happy. So, yeah, I thought that was great. So, yeah, we will see where it goes. But I am genuinely excited. Next week to me is a write-off. Christmas Day and Boxing Day don't even exist in any kind of language when it comes to professional business. So that some people are already jumping down WWE's throats, and you're more than allowed to do that. If that's the way you watch wrestling, that's cool. But that's not how I watch it. So. Let's do a final few questions. Oliver Jones, what do you think about Boogeyman returning and him facing Demon Finn Balor? I think we've all had our fill of the Boogeyman in 2018. I like the guy, he seems nice. I only see, apart from a lot of people saying he's a bit crazy, I don't think that does anything for Finn Balor. I think Finn Balor right now needs as much, again, he won at TLC. He feels like he's a bit of a player again, but that's going to take more than just a couple of weeks. And putting him in a feud with the Boogeyman, I don't think's going to pull it off. Michael says Wyatt should come back as an upper mid card or win against some mid card losers, and start building a cult. Maybe bring back new Daniel Bryan. I wouldn't want Daniel Bryan anywhere near Bray Wyatt. I don't want anyone near Bray Wyatt. I want Bray Wyatt to come in and re-establish himself before we put anybody else with him, because it is going to be a bit of a explosive situation when he does return, because there's rehabbing to do, and that is the same with a lot of the roster, and I think that's kind of the big, we kind of touched on it a couple of times, but again, Tyler Breeze, when he came out for his surprise challenge against Dean Ambrose, the fans didn't really care until the end, because they've been told not to care about Tyler Breeze. NXT audience, though, when Tyler Breeze turns up, remembers how much they liked him, and it's that kind of balance that we need to sort out, and I hope they do. R-Truth is a great one of that. Because he's been so good the last couple of months, everyone loves him again. He's got a great entrance. He's helped, get the whole Carmella face turn over, even though, again, no explanation for that. She was just a face. And a lot of that is R-Truth. Carmella obviously played her part too, but R-Truth has been so good in his role, he's kind of brought everybody up. And that's what we need. We need everyone to be brought up. No more dragging down. And Bray Wyatt was dragging people down. So, yeah. I mean, Pranav Bart says, thoughts on the Lesnar UFC WWE situation? I don't think there's much to talk about at the moment, to be honest. I don't know what's going on. I mean, Brock apparently was going to fight early next year. Doesn't seem like that's the case, because it would have been announced by now. And if it is going to be announced soon, given it does look like he's slimmed down for an MMA fight, I don't know. I'd like to see him in the UFC again. I enjoy Brock Lesnar fights, but he's 42, 43. So he's probably only got one more fight in him. So if he does want to do it, the time is now. I just think, look, Brock Lesnar, he made the best deal for himself ever. I hold no ill will towards the man. A lot of fans do. I don't see who would turn that down, and I do like it when he turns up. I think he's a good pro wrestler. Jack Dren, how would you book the returns of Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens? I don't know. I really don't know. I guess that all depends on what brand they're going to be on. I think it's obviously going to be Raw, because I think we mentioned it on SmackDown. Are they going to be a team? Are they not going to be a team? Where are they on the card? I don't know, It's a great question. I'm looking forward to them coming back. Sami Zayn's tweet yesterday was brilliant, and Kevin Owens just a man all the time. I don't know. Just get them back. That's all I care about right now. I didn't realize how much I missed them until I saw those 2 vignettes on Raw, and I was like, oh, I do really miss them. They do bring something different and something... They're not at the star power they should be, but they still have star power. Like, they make me want to watch that show. So, yeah, we will we'll keep an eye on it, because they could come back, and it all depends on what they're involved in. I think maybe Sami Zayn being involved in the Intercontinental Championship, he's going to be a heel, though. But I'd like to see Sami Zayn involved in the IC Championship. As a Kevin Owens, I want him to be Universal Champion again, but whether that's going to happen, we will wait and see. Who knows? And I believe we have one more question, which I'm just going to try and find now, if this loads. Yes. My man Adam Mason again. Would you have Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn take R-Truth's spot in the Royal Rumble, as I feel that would get a reaction? Yes, I would. I'd have Kevin Owens do it, but not if he's going to lose. And I don't think Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn are going to win the Royal Rumble. While it would rock if, Kevin Owens' return got number 30, that moment would be awesome. But if he then gets chucked out, you're like, oh, well, that was kind of pointless, wasn't it? And that's the key. I like number 30 spot, and I like the surprise of it. But if really we're not going to do anything with it, and the winner isn't plugged into that, then it may as well be R-Truth. At first, I was like, you can't have R-Truth and Carmella in number 30, but you can if you have exactly, zero plans to do with number 30. Then number 30 doesn't mean anything. Inhus Anderson, I hope I got that right. Dude, what do you think of the Ascension as a major tag team again? Look, everybody can be a major tag team, but they just have to be rehabbed. So yeah, they're all right. They're good. I thought they were quite decent in NXT. But if they want to crawl back up the mountain, they've got to be allowed to do it. You can't go 1 to 100 like they did with Jinder Mahal. It doesn't work, as we've seen. It does not work. Talking of Jinder Mahal, there's a match with him on Raw next week, and there's a little twist in it. I like the twist. No one else does. I read some spoilers. I thought it was pretty good. Again, what do I know? Clearly, absolutely nothing. But I think all the tag teams on the roster should be pushed and pushed hard. Get Fandango back. Get the Fashion Police, and use them. It can be a comedy tag team, but just treat them as a comedy tag team that also knows what they're doing. You could argue that DX were a comedy tag team. I mean, they weren't. But, you could spin it that way, should you so wish. Or depending on how you look at it. El Americano, one new feud with current roster. Who do you want, Simon? Do you mean me, or do you mean what feud would I like to see on the current roster? In terms of feuds I'd like to see on the current roster, I don't know. I mean, Drew McIntyre. Well, actually, no, that's not true. I would like at WrestleMania 35 Seth Rollins to win the Universal Championship and then go into a feud with Drew McIntyre. I think there's money there. I think it would work, and I think they have such incredible matches that it would save the Universal Championship from the, kind of problematic position that it's in at the moment. For me, I'd have any feud. I'm not fussy. I'll take anybody on if someone gives me the opportunity. Right, so that's all the questions. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Obviously, next Wednesday is Boxing Day. If I can squeeze an episode out, I 100% will. I promise. Obviously, I'm going to be driving around seeing family. I am going to get SmackDown Ups and Downs done in the morning. But I will endeavour to get a podcast done. It may not be live. It may just go up on all the apps. And if so, please do head over to iTunes or Google Podcast Place, whatever the hell it's called, or SoundCloud, wherever you listen to your podcast. Search for Simon's Pro Wrestling Podcast. Subscribe, and you'll know when it goes up. And do keep an eye out here on youtube.com/The Miller Report in case it goes up. And I'd appreciate you subscribing and being a part of it anyway. Usually we go live around about 2 o'clock every Wednesday. We're about an hour late today. 2 o'clock is usually the idea. So get that into your brain. Write it down somewhere so you can remember. And again, at SimonMiller316 on Twitter and Instagram. Over on YouTube, obviously here now, The Miller Report rules. Facebook group, Simon Miller's Pro Wrestling Podcast, and all of this is supported by patreon.com/Simon Miller 316. Even $1 helps. Ella Marcano also said Drew and Seth look exactly the same to me. They really do. They looked at each other in a match. I think it was either a Super Showdown or Crown Jewel, and I was like, that is the same person. Again, thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And also, as this could be the last one of the year, hopefully not, but thank you for everybody that has joined, grown the audience, the community, whatever. Thank you so much for being part of this, and hopefully in 2019 we can continue to smash it even more. As I'm about to finish, head up to What Culture Wrestling Night now on YouTube. Go watch my ups and downs. Get all my in-depth thoughts about everything that happened on SmackDown. And I'll talk to you all again very soon.